Welcome to the Punch Out. I'm your host, Alex McNinch, and welcome back for another episode this week. Second one this week, obviously. Earlier in the week, we did a little bit of an introduction. Today is the start of our 2025 MLB season preview, where we're going to be breaking down each division in each league, starting today with the American League East. I'm really excited about this one. Obviously, the American League East over the past few years, give it 3 to 5 years, honestly, have been really competitive at the top half, whether it's been Toronto up in there fighting the new and young, exciting Baltimore Orioles, the mainstay Yankees, the Tampa Bay Rays, who find some magic every couple of years or so, or maybe your lone poor Boston Red Sox down in the basement trying to find their way back up to what success they're used to here within the 21st century. We're going to break it all down today. Lineups, starting pitching, bullpen, some players to look out for in the system that could be coming up this year or making an impact in the near future with the big league roster. We're going to break it all down and kind of talk about what to look forward to the season, record projections, and kind of my thoughts overall on each team. Now, again, this is my own research and my own eyes that I get to view on. This is not entitled to everyone's opinion. I have obviously a strong connection to the American League East. If you're watching this for the first time, I am a Boston Red Sox fan. You can see it if you're watching behind me. Again, still haven't put anything up. Don't worry about that. It's all sitting out here on the ground. It's my ability to be able to hang things up by myself without any supervision is not great whatsoever. So that could be an issue with me putting these up, so I have to wait for somebody else to come help me and just look at it so I don't hang it up incorrectly again like I did the first time. But we'll try to make the background a little bit better, maybe for next week. But again, back to what I was saying, I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm a diehard Sox fan my entire life, so I do have some strong opinions towards my team. If I sound biased, it's just how it's naturally going to be. Sure, do I hate the Yankees more than pretty much almost everything else that exists in the universe in my life right now? Yeah, I do. But I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you what I think, honestly, with an unbiased opinion on that team, because it's not the Yankees are a bad team, but they definitely have taken a step back. But we'll get to them here in a little bit. We'll start out pretty quickly here with the Tampa Bay Rays. This is the first team we're going to kind of go over. Obviously, Tampa Bay, not really in a great situation at the moment. If you are unaware of the hurricane that hit Central and South Florida this past, September, October, unfortunately destroyed the roof of Tropicana Field. Won't be able to be done in time. Looks like they're going to have to be playing in a minor league stadium this entire year. They end up getting approval from the New York Yankees to play at Steinbrenner Field over at the Yankees spring training complex. So they'll be playing their regular season games at a spring training complex like it's COVID again, and the Blue Jays are playing at the spring training site and the minor league fields that they did. So this year for the Rays already going to be quite the ride. Let alone what the roster construction really is here and what they're trying to do going forward. Now, when you look at their roster and you look at their starting lineup, you got mainstay guys like Yandy Diaz, who a guy that has hit over 300 in his career before. Last year was a 281 hitter, 770 or 755 OPS, a 1.5 WAR guy, which is wins above replacement. That's the best way to judge how many wins that this player is valuable for your team for. That is probably one of the top 3 stats to look for in baseball to see how valuable a player is to their team. Yandy Diaz was a 1.5 win player last year. I mean, his defense is never going to be what you want it to be. His hard hit percentage from the years prior dropped from 54% to 48%. He started to chase a little bit more. But because his hard hit percentage dropped, he's still in the top 8% hard hit percentage in the league. So he can still barrel it up. He's going to be the leadoff guy for this team. Really good at getting on base. Knows how to set the tone for the lineup. But once it gets kind of past Yandy, you get a little shaky. Brandon Lau, who has been kind of injury prone his entire career, only 425 plate appearances last year. He's not really going to do much more than mash the baseball and try to hit it out of the park. So that's the only thing you're looking for there. The real name to look for in this lineup is Junior Caminero, who is their former number one prospect and graduated in the system. He's going to be starting at third base this year. Now his defense, he was originally a shortstop. They're moving him to third base. They like that his range of motion can be over there at third base. He's got the arm to play at third. Just trying to protect him a little bit from shortstop because it got pretty obvious pretty quick in the minors that he wasn't going to be a shortstop long term. But they kept him there for his athleticism. They didn't want to trade him off that position just yet to be able to keep the range of motion and everything. He came up at the end of the season last year in August, 177 plate appearances. He had 248 with a 105 OPS plus. Again, if you're new on the analytical side of things, OPS plus is really just out of a 100-point scale, how much of a percentage better a player is than the league average. So league average is 100, and he had a 105 OPS plus. He was 5% better than the league average. Hit 6 homers, was a half-win player, but he's going to smash the ball, quick bat. He's a really exciting player, really fun player. Really shined in the Dominican League this summer. Had a lot of eyes on him, so big things expecting for Caminero in his official rookie season here, despite getting called up. If you don't know, in baseball, you have to accumulate a certain amount of games and plate appearances to qualify for a rookie season. Most people, it has to be a half a season to qualify for it. Caminero came up in the August-September time frame, only played 2 months, does not qualify for rookie qualifications last year, so he will be an official rookie this year. And then kind of just outside of him in the lineup, Josh Lowe, who is okay. I mean, he's nothing to be too excited about, but he's a solid player, can hit the ball, doesn't really strike out as much. His expected batting average wasn't great compared to what he hit. He hit 241, but dealt with some injuries last year. Danny Jansen is the catcher of this team. He was originally a member of the Blue Jays last year, was traded at the deadline to the Boston Red Sox because they needed some extra defense back there behind the plate after getting rid of Reese McGuire. And Jansen's just really, I mean, he's not anything to be too excited about. I mean, when you're looking at Danny Jansen, I mean, he is -4 outs above average behind the plate, but he's the best blocker in the MLB statistically by the advanced analytics. He's normally a reverse splits guy. He hits righties pretty well, but last year just couldn't do it. He became much better at drawing walks last year, was more patient at the plate. He's just a serviceable guy behind the plate. We'll talk about the other catching option here in a second. Christopher Morel, they also got in a trade from the Cubs last year, -14 out above average. Get him out of there as fast as possible. He's just going to try to swing for the fences and hope it gets out. He had a great start to the year last year. Had a couple of weeks stretch where he was hitting 350 and then absolutely fell off the face of the earth. Gets traded, a part of the Isaac Paredes trade with the Cubs, and now finds himself in Tampa Bay, maybe where he can try to find a new role of his career. But I don't know what to even think about Christopher Morel at this point. Jonathan Aranda will probably be their DH or first baseman for this team. Kind of switching out with Diaz on platoon days. They want to get him a rest. I mean, he's not terrible. He's hitting the ball a little bit harder. Really not a consistent amount of at-bats to be able to prove himself in the big leagues so far. But he was up in strikeout rate in the minor leagues this year when he was playing down. So that's something to really worry about if you're kind of looking at that standpoint for Aranda. And then kind of running out the lineup are two guys you're not expecting to hit. Johnny DeLuca, left to be desired at the plate. 8 outs above average in center field. Really good defensive player. 98th percentile in sprint speed. Super fast guy. He's pretty good at getting on base when he was in the minor leagues, but just when he got to the majors, was chasing, felt like he was forcing a lot of the impact. Watching him last year, it's a really long swing when he's out there. He stands up pretty tall, and then his entire swing is pretty elongated. So maybe they work on that and cut that down a little bit. It probably could look a little smoother for him. And then the shortstop for right now, Taylor Walls, another guy. It's really left to be desired. A 55 OPS plus. It means he's 45% worse than league average in OPS. That is horrible. And you would think he's out there for defensive purposes at shortstop. Not really. -3 outs above average. He was a 1.5 win player last year somehow, but really can run well, and he's just a placeholder for the guys that are on the team coming up soon. The bench options they got a couple of interesting ones to look at here. Eloy Jimenez, who you might know from the White Sox days, he was a masher, would hit nukes, and just has fell off the face of the earth, have just tried to push too hard. Injuries got him, unfortunately, in the legs and kind of set him back a little bit in that standpoint. But he was on a non-roster invite. He might make the team. It would make sense to have another power bat coming off the bench based on how much power they really have on the roster right now. 2 players hit above 15 home runs on the team, and it's Morel and Lowe and Brandon Lau, that is. Also, they have Richard Palacios on the bench. He's just a switch-hitting infielder, not really too much to be excited about, but he's a depth guy. Ben Rortvert is the other catcher on the team. I kind of like him. He's a good defender. Really good pop time at 192. Apparently hit the sinker really well last year, so he's a lefty behind the plate. Lefty bat, right-handed, obviously. There's no lefty catchers, but left-handed bat, he's pretty good. I think he'll end up starting eventually behind the plate over Jansen, but kind of probably working with Jansen early to see how that whole pitching staff can play out. We'll get to them here in a second. Kind of what to talk about with them. The other guy that I think could end up starting at shortstop over Walls, and by the way, I forgot to mention this, the entire lineup projection, these are from Fangraphs, depth chart and lineup projections. These are not my official projections. I'm going off of that. I'll give you my input on some of that. I should have explained that at the start. I apologize. But Jose Caballero is the guy that I think is probably going to end up starting at shortstop for them. 7 outs above average at short last year. He's probably going to end up being shortstop, like I said. Really good speed. Unfortunately, doesn't hit the ball well at all. But if you're looking at Taylor Walls, who is a 529 OPS, and Jose Caballero, who is a 7 out above average player at shortstop, and you're really thinking like, well, if we're going to sacrifice Wall's bat for Caballero's bat, you're not really going to have to worry too much because you're getting an incredible defensive replacement. But all these shortstop placeholders are kind of just in there waiting for Ha-Seong Kim, their free agent signing this year from the San Diego Padres, came over from Japan or from Korea, and was unbelievable. Amazing glove, Gold Glover. He'll miss the first month or so, but probably will instantly be the starter. He's got pop. He can drive it the other way. Prone to striking out a little bit, but really, really, really intriguing option for Ha-Seong Kim to come back and play shortstop for them. Maybe give Caminero a little bit more of a relief out there on the left side of the infield. And the pitching is where, if you follow baseball and you know the Tampa Bay Rays, you know that they will produce these random pitchers and reclaim them out of nowhere and make them unbelievable. It's like the Dodgers. They're the Dodgers of the East in the idea of they're going to find ways to make these pitchers unbelievable. And that guy, one of those guys being Shane McClanahan. Now, last year he missed all of the year with an injury. He's a 2-time All-Star. He finished 6th in Cy Young in 2022. He's going to be the frontline starter, left-handed guy of the rotation. Instantly much better than whatever they're going to have brought out there last year, which was Zach Eflin for half the year until they traded him to Baltimore. We'll talk about him later. But McClanahan will instantly be the frontline guy. Then after that, Taj Bradley was okay last year. Really not too terrible. He throws around 96. His splitter was kind of his focus pitch last year, what he was trying to throw more of, and they hit 213 off of it. He really struggled when he got to the 3rd and 4th. It probably seemed like the 2nd or 3rd time around it became an issue for him. Got hit hard pretty well. Not really a ground ball guy. So it's a tough it's a tough thing for Taj Bradley. He's really just kind of strikeout or bust, it seems like. And he threw 154 of those last year. He has a 10K per 9, which is strikeouts per 9 innings if you stretched it out. So he's pretty good. Zach Littell, who was a reliever. You might know Zach Littell because there's a video of him when he was a reliever for the Giants. And Gabe Kapler came out to the mound and took the ball from him, and he handed the ball sternly to him and looked back and said something to him, and they had a talk in the dugout afterwards. If you know that video, that is Zach Littell. He has revived himself. 3.6 ERA last year, a 1.8 walk per 9. One of the best in the league. Really doesn't walk anybody. A lot of line drives and ground balls, soft contact. Really good guy. The intriguing arm here in the rotation that I am a massive fan of is Ryan Pepio, excuse me. In 130 innings pitched, Pepio was one of the big guys coming over from the Dodgers in the Tyler Glasnow trade, along with Johnny DeLuca, who is going to be starting in center field. But Pepio he's like Tyler Glasnow in a way. Last year kind of added a cutter and a curve once he got here. The cutter was okay. The curve was decent in limited use. But his fastball is his pitch. Hitters were hitting 181 off of that. He gets off to slow starts. They really hit him hard early, but once he settles in, he's much better. Really love his stuff. A 3.6 ERA, a 1.15 whip, 9.8 strikeout per 9. Like that's all you can ask from a guy like him that could end up just being your number 2 here going forward the rest of the season. And then the other 2 starters that are listed here, it's kind of a battle, but I think it's going to be Drew Rasmussen is going to take the job. But Shane Baz, who was one of the top prospects in all of baseball, was the Rays' top prospect for so long. Just injury-prone guy. Only threw 79 innings last year when he came back, but had a 106 whip. His ERA was 3, but his FIP was 4. Now FIP is another stat to be able to read. Pitcher's pretty well on. FIP is fielder independent of pitching. So basically it is determining what the ERA is and how the pitcher plays, and if there was perfect defense being played. No errors. Everything defensively was cleaned up. Here's what his FIP would be. It's a 407, so he's a whole run higher. So you look at that, and it's kind of, whatever. But he was a 2-win player. Really focused on the fastball last year. Less slider, more curveball. His fastball is kind of straight, but his off-speed is his money pitch. And then the other guy to note, and I think is going to end up taking the spot, is Drew Rasmussen. Came back at the end of the year last year from surgery in July of 23. In 28 innings, he threw a 2.8 ERA. His FIP was 1.35, unreal. He's just a guy that's going to come in there and get you ground ball and ground ball and ground ball and then strike guys out, just punch them out. He is probably another guy that is going to be at the top of this rotation here going forward. So I'm a massive fan of Drew Rasmussen. Now in the pen, again, it's by committee situation here. Pete Fairbanks has been their closer forever. 23 saves last year for the club. The guy that really stood out last year was Edwin Uceda. In 41 innings pitched, he had a 1.51 ERA with an 8.2 whip, 57 total strikeouts, 7 saves and wins combined. Was a 2-win player. His arm slot's less than 3/4. He stopped walking guys, which was a big issue in the minors. He brought back the cutter. It was pretty flat from whenever I watched it again over here recently, but was just commanding his fastball much better. I really liked what you said it gave this year. Now, can he do it consistently? We'll find out. But this past year showed pretty promising signs. Other guys in the bullpen, Garrett Clevenger, he's a hard-throwing lefty. Added a cutter and a sweeper last year. Manuel Rodriguez is a righty. Not really too much to be excited about. Big slider guy. He's coming in there to create soft contact with that. The other guys that are intriguing to look at, Mason Montgomery, he was a top pitching prospect. He's a left-handed guy. He was an originally starter. Is now going to be moved as a reliever. Only has a 2-pitch mix. Fastball, slider. Fastball's at a 97. Good extension. Has a high leg point kick. Really is willing to walk, or really is prone to walking guys. In his time and 9 innings pitched last year at a 1.80 ERA, 17 Ks. So Mason Montgomery is one guy to look out for here as well. They acquired Alex Faedo, go Gators, a little bit. He was a part of the 17 national championship team for the Gators. Another former starter turned reliever, Faedo, in 57 innings pitched last year. 3.61 ERA. Unfortunately, the FIP was a 4.9. Yikes. He introduced his sinker last year, but his slider is his best pitch. Hitters were hitting 171 off of it. He had a 6-run value on the pitch. There's a stat online through Baseball Savant that allows you to determine how valuable a pitch is to a player's arsenal, and based on how hitters affect to it, how much they command the strike zone, how many runs he gives up off of it. So his slider was his best pitch with a 6-run value. His changeup was a little harder he threw last year. It became a little too close to his fastball velo, which made it probably less effective. But he's getting a lot of weak contact, obviously, because of that slider. And then the last guy in the rotation, or in the bullpen, is Mike Vasil, who is a Rule 5 draft pick guy. If you don't know what the Rule 5 is, it is the opportunity to take players from other organizations in a draft pool that are not on the 40-man roster. 40-man can be minor league players and major league players only allowed to move up and down throughout the system. If you're not on the 40-man, you cannot be moved up to the major league roster without being put on the 40-man. So Vasil was a guy who wasn't on the 40-man, but was an intriguing enough option for the Rays to want to try to reclaim him, I guess. He was a starter turned reliever now, probably this year, in 134 innings pitched, 6 ERA, 6.75 K per 9. I don't really know too much about him, but I heard him pitching yesterday, and it sounded like he was getting hit pretty hard by the Red Sox in spring training. So we'll see We'll see about him and what he can bring to the team. I'm not really sure. Only time will tell with some of those Rule 5 guys on the rosters. Now, kind of looking just at a couple guys, put some names out there in the air of who could be making impact in the major league roster pretty soon. The first guy I have is Curtis Mead. I think could end up making the opening day roster. Hell, could even start on the opening day lineup, depending on who you're playing at first base or at third. Really, really love his bat. They're really worried about his defensive side of things, but I just love his bat. I love his bat a lot, and I think he could be really impactful. I think it's time that they give him a chance. He's hitting like 600 in spring training right now, so it's worth giving a shot. A couple other guys, Carson Williams, the number 1 prospect, shortstop, really good glove, really good hit tools, like him a lot. Chandler Simpson, who a lot of you might have been able to see online for his freakish speed. He's now recordedly the fastest runner in baseball due to his spring training metrics. And then a couple other guys. Trey Morgan, you might know him from his LSU days. He was the first baseman for the team. He's the number 4 prospect in the system. He could be fast-tracked to the MLB due to his college experience. And then the last guy, Ian Seymour, a fringe guy, left-handed pitcher. He's the 20th ranked prospect, guy who's MLB ready now and can come up and help the roster at some point based on lefty-righty splits and what they want to do. So for the Rays, that's kind of what I'm looking at. They're probably I have them at 78 wins this year, 78-84. You're playing in a new field. You're going to get taken advantage of. Your lineup isn't balanced enough of good hitters. It's the pitching will get you by, but how much will it get you by, and how stable will that bullpen be throughout the entire season at that different ballpark? Moving on to the next team I got here, the Toronto Blue Jays. I realized I took a little too long talking about the Tampa Bay Rays for some reason, so let me try to speed it up a little bit with some of these other ones. The Blue Jays last year, not good at all. They traded a lot of guys, went a little bit younger, some injuries happened, and one of the main injuries happened to Bo Bichette. Only ended up having 336 plate appearances last year, hit 225, not good. This is an important season for Bo. This is his last year under contract. It's about time that Bo either gets an extension or goes find somewhere else to play. He got better at shortstop last year. He wasn't hitting it as hard, only a 65 OPS plus. Yikes. So big year for Bo Bichette. But the one storyline to talk about here with the Blue Jays is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and obviously rumors circling around him about whether he will be traded or not, whether he will sign an extension. They passed the deadline for the extension. Vladdy will not sign the extension. He will go to free agency. But last year, one of the best years of his career, and almost 700 plate appearances, 325 batting average, 396 on base, 940 OPS, 166 OPS plus, 30 bombs, 103 RBIs. He was a 6-win player. Now his defense, watch out. Whoever he goes to next year, probably going to be their DH, I assume. He was hitting everything much harder this year. Chase rate was cut down, stopped striking out. He was hitting it the other way. It looks so good from Vlad. He found his groove again. Now, if he can find it again this year and sustain that success, we're looking at a guy who's $400 million coming into next offseason. They acquired Anthony Santander from the Baltimore Orioles. He's going to play the outfield. Not really too much to be excited about in the field, but he's a 44 home run hitter. Last year was an all-star. He's a switch hitting guy, much better as a left-handed hitter. But he was top 7 in exit velo, hits bad pitches really well, struggled with the fastball, but really an off-speed guy. If anything, you see the slider, the curveball, he's gonna crush it. Other guys on the roster, George Springer, another name to note, had a bad year last year. He's regressing, and it's sad to see because he was such an electric player with the Astros. Not really too much to talk about with Springer. Maybe he has a bounce back year, maybe he doesn't, but the regression has been showing for a while that he's not the same player that he used to be. Dalton Varsho is going to be their center fielder. Really just not good at the plate. He was a big acquisition for this team a few years ago. They traded Lourdes Gurriel away for him. Turns out that Lourdes Gurriel ended up helping the Diamondbacks get to the World Series that year and became an extremely important player for that organization. Varsho, unbelievable defensively, 16 outs above average, as a 5-win player because of his defense. He's going to miss some time here. They said he's going to be back for spring training, so I have him slotted in the lineup right now. I made that change. He was bottom in the league in exit velo and expected batting average. Alejandro Kirk, a former All-Star, really good defensive player behind the dish, 93rd percentile framer. His walk rate dropped as well as his whiff rate. So it seemed like he was chasing more. Top 5% in K rate. That explains everything right there. Was popping it up a ton. Other guys on the roster in the starting lineup here. Andres Gimenez coming over from Cleveland in a trade this offseason, which either made no sense and also just shocked everyone because it was so confusing. Now Gimenez has an extension that's kicking in here in the next couple years, and Cleveland was just trying to offload that money, obviously. So they get rid of him, but Platinum Glove winner at second base, you're going to be getting him for your defense. Looks like the Blue Jays are kind of looking at defense and saying this is what we want to do. Obviously with Varsho, Kirk, Gimenez, Ernie Clement is the next guy in the lineup to talk about. He's more defensive guy, a 3.5 WAR guy. And then the round out the roster in the starting lineup, Will Wagner. The last name might sound familiar, or maybe it doesn't, but son of the great, now Hall of Famer going to be this year, Billy Wagner, former closer for the Houston Astros. His son is on the Blue Jays, was traded over from the Astros, was originally in their organization. But in 86 plate appearances last year, 305 average with a 124 OPS plus. Really just an exciting prospect to watch. Squared the ball up really well. Small sample size, obviously. He's not going to hit a lot of home runs, but he hits it hard. He gets on base, a lot of line drives. Really had a low K rate in the minors, but it got up when he got to the MLB. Obviously, things change when you get up there. Other guys to look forward that are on the bench here. Nathan Lukes, another one of the prospect guys. Gets on base a lot. Good arm, 9.5 or almost a 10% K rate once he got called up. Big time platoon hitter. 328 against right-handed pitching. He's a lefty outfielder. Miles Straw, defensive player, also came over from Cleveland in that trade with Jimenez. Davis Schneider, utility guy, scrappy old school baseball player. Like a lot of strikeouts though. A lot of strikeouts. Negative 14 run value versus fastball. Ugh. And then the last guy, Taylor Heineman, will be their backup catcher. Was in the Red Sox organization last year. Really solid defender, switch hitter. Not really going to do too much for you. Not a good guy when it comes to walks. But serviceable behind the plate as a good backup. Their pitching. You see the names and you think that their pitching would be always nasty no matter what. But last year just wasn't good. Kevin Gausman is their main frontline starter. Was unbelievable for so many years. Obviously, if you follow baseball, you know Kevin Gausman's got the best splitter in baseball, most likely. But last year, 3.83 ERA, wasn't even a full win of a player. Was walking guys a little bit more than he's used to. Still at 162 strikeouts, but Gausman just wasn't it last year. A lot of hard contact. Right-handed hitters were hitting him well. His sinker he added last year, some reason only threw it to right-handed hitters, got crushed. If you don't know how a sinker moves, obviously, pretty self-explanatory. It's like a two-seam fastball. It runs into the glove side. So right-handed hitters, it was just running straight into their barrels, and they were just crushing it and smashing it down the line. Don't know why he would do that and why he wouldn't go against a lefty so it tails away from him. But what do I know? Jose Barrios, a guy who has been a mainstay in this rotation as well. His ERA was 3.6. FIP was a 4.72. Yikes. K rate was 7. Yikes. Not good at all. Added a cutter. Strikeouts were way down. Slurve is his best pitch. They're hitting a 188 off of that. Chris Bassett, another guy in the rotation. Not going to throw it too hard. Not a guy that's going to strike you out a ton. Walked the most hitters of his career last year at a 3.7 walks per 9. Bassett, a guy who throws like 55 different pitches. When watching him a little bit more and started to look into it, his movement has become more vertical than horizontal. His 2023 run value on his sinker was 27. Last year it was -3. So watch out there, but obviously as he gets older and starts regressing a little bit more, his fastball is not going to be the same as it was. You would talk about regressing. We've got the living legend Max Scherzer now on the roster, signed here just a couple of weeks ago. There were talks about him becoming a closer maybe for a team. Toronto said, hey, no, you can come here and start for us. Don't you worry about that at all. Coming off a couple injuries here the last few years. Velo down. It'll be interesting to see what Scherzer does. And then the real guy to talk about in this rotation, who I'm really excited about, is Bowden Francis. And got called up last year early on in the season. In 103 innings pitched, 3.3 ERA. His whip was .926, but his FIP was 4.36. However, that takes a lot of the early season stats. The end of the year was unbelievable. He introduced a splitter last year. It was nasty. Hitters were 169 off of it. Really wasn't focused on throwing it too hard and more control, which really got him to be able to get those ground balls and let the defense work behind him, which helped him out the most. Really good extension, high leg kick going into the extension part of his mechanics. His slider, he slowed it down, dropped it 4 miles per hour. Wasn't really as effective. If he throws it a little bit harder, maybe almost like a cutter, maybe it looks a little bit better. But he stopped throwing it as much anyways as a whole. He was, I think, an out away from a no-hitter against the Angels last year. Was no-hitting the Red Sox through like 8 last year. He is an unbelievable guy. He was so hot down the stretch. I'm interested to see where he kind of goes in his progression here this year. Look at their bullpen. They got a big acquisition in Jeff Hoffman from the Phillies. There was a whole thing with him dealing with his medicals. Apparently he tried signing with 3 teams before the Blue Jays, and they all failed his physical. But last year was one of the best relievers in baseball. 2.17 ERA, 89 strikeouts, 96 percentile in K percentage, chase percentage, and whiff rate. He dropped his arm slot a little bit last year. The fastball looked like it rode a little bit more based on that. Came a little bit from right here instead of right here, and that just instantly gave a different look. And that fastball, if you know anything about pitching and whatnot, when you're coming over here, your fastball is coming down like this into hitters. When you're coming here with the fastball, it's riding. It's riding towards the outside part of the zone. So left-handed hitters, much easier to whiff on those. To righties, it came across a little bit easier since it's over the top. You're looking here down. Really loved it, what he did last year for the Phillies, now part of the Blue Jays. Other guys, Chad Green, used to be awesome with the Yankees, kind of fell off. Last year had like a 6 ERA, was down to a 3 this past season. Fastball is always going to play. Yimi Garcia, weird case scenario for him, was traded to the Blue Jays, or signed with the Blue Jays, traded to the Mariners last year, and then when he became a free agent, re-signed with the Blue Jays. Guy just can't get enough of Toronto, I guess. But was pretty solid. Throws a lot of pitches for a reliever, so that's something to look out on for him, maybe to cut down on and maybe become more effective on just maybe 3 pitches instead of 5 like he has right now. Other guys, Eric Swanson, who had a sub-3 ERA 2 years ago, ended up having a 5 last year. Fell off a cliff. His fastball usage went up 15% and didn't improve. Less split, and it got much worse than what it was. Threw way too many balls. Missed a lot of the pitches right down the middle. They were hitting him meatball pitches. And then after him, Nick Sandlin also came over, a part of the deal to get Andres Jimenez. As you can tell, it seems like they're just getting a lot of players over here from Cleveland. Sandlin, shout out to the top Southern Miss guy right there. He's a submarine sidearm type of guy, through 3.75 ERA. FIP was a 5.23 though. But he was a career high in strikeouts at 68 last year. He was bottom 1% in hard hit percentage. Slider and fastball got hit hard. His splitter was amazing, as I wrote down from my analysis of watching him. But one of the things I noticed from watching him is his arm slot is trying to change up. He was more of way down here as a almost submarine guy in his sidearm, but he changed it to more over the top and came across his body a little bit more, and it just wasn't good at all. It just wasn't good at all. Please go back to your old mechanics. Like, whenever I watched the videos of him last year and he would come from right here, it didn't look as comfortable for him, and his sinker wasn't playing as much. Fastball sinker didn't play as much from right here as it did right here. So I would be much more interested to see if he comes back to that mechanic, because it's so different. It's so different based on all of that. Other guys in the bullpen, Brendan Little, left-handed throwing, hard-hitting, or not really throwing too hard, gets a ground balls a lot. Tommy Nance, nothing left to be desired. And Yariel Rodriguez, who shined for Cuba in the World Baseball Classic, wasn't really that great last year trying to be a starter. They're going to try to push him in the bullpen. Guys to look for on this team, Ricky Tiedemann, 4th-ranked prospect in the system, left-handed pitcher, really solid. Orelvis Martinez has been waiting to get to the big leagues for years now, might get his first crack with the big league roster this year. Jake Bloss, or Martinez is the 3rd in the system. Jake Bloss, right-handed pitcher, 6th in the system. Adam Mako, a left-handed pitcher, 16th in the system, and then Josh Kasevich, an infielder. He's the 7th ranked guy in the system. I don't really have the Blue Jays doing too much. They're probably going to finish the same as the Rays. I have them 78 and 84 as well. Really not too excited about the Blue Jays. And if you're trading Vlad and Bo at the halfway point of the season, you're really just trying to blow it up, and they might lose even more than what they have now. The next team, these next 3 teams, we're looking playoffs. And I'm going to try to keep it short. I promise. I realize I spent way too much time on the bad teams, so now it doesn't leave me enough time to talk about the good ones. Talk about the Baltimore Orioles first. If you're getting a sense of the trend, we're going in my projections of the record and standing. I really didn't want to put the Orioles here. Last year were unbelievable, and then failed miserably in the playoffs, losing to the Royals in the wild card round, I believe it was. But their lineup is full of young studs, and leading off is Gunnar Henderson. He is the young stud. Had a 159 OPS plus, was a 9-win player. Continuously just gets better somehow. He's unbelievable. I love Gunnar Henderson. I hate that I have to face him because he kills me from the left side. Other guys, Adley Rutschman, you know the name. Awesome catcher behind the plate. One of the best blockers, at 10 blocks above average behind the plate there. Jordan Westberg, another guy who was an all-star last year, fractured his hand-wrist area, and if he didn't, he probably would have hit almost 300 for the year. They signed Tyler O'Neill, who kind of revived himself last year with the Red Sox. Last year had a 132 OPS plus, hit 31 bombs, but Once was a 2-time Gold Glover. Doesn't look good defensively as much anymore. But they're going to stick him out there in left and see how it works. But it's a big outfield there in left in Baltimore, so they might switch that pretty quickly between him and the next guy, Colton Cowser, who had a great rookie year. For the most part, hit 24 homers, which they were really concerned about his power going into this. 123 OPS plus, was 11 outs above average. Awesome defender. They might put him in left instead of right. Cedric Mullins, a mainstay of the lineup. He's starting to regress a little bit. His whiff rate was back up. K percentage was down. Not making too much hard contact anymore. But the next guy is all about hard contact, and Ryan Mountcastle from the right side was a 2.5 win player. Cleaned it up defensively, started to walk a little bit more. Still 90th percentile in bat speed. Hit it the other way. Ryan Mountcastle posed for a big year this year. And then rounding out the lineup, Ryan O'Hearn had a career low in K rate last year. Walk rate was back up. Didn't really hit it as hard, but he's going to hit the breaking pitches from the left side. Nothing to be excited for defensively. But the next guy is someone to be really excited for, and it's Jackson Holliday. You have heard about his name. If you don't, son of MLB, not Hall of Famer, All-Star, Matt Holliday. He is one of the 55 Holliday kids that are just insanely good at baseball, it seems like. Jackson last year, when getting called up in 208 plate appearances, not good at all. You could tell he was kind of a step behind, but when he went down to the minors, mashed the ball. Super fast, has all the tools, really wasn't patient at the plate. Felt like he was forcing, but he still hit the ball pretty hard. Guys on the bench, Gary Sanchez, you know him from his days with the New York Yankees. Not good defensively still. He's only there to hit home runs. Ramon Urias once was a Gold Glover. Last year, -9 outs above average. Yikes. The guy I'm really excited about, Heston Kjerstad, I think he, if you didn't sign Tyler O'Neill, this is the guy that you want in the outfield. Really fast, really good arm, mashes the baseball, 44% hard hit rate, draws walks pretty well. He started to strike out a little bit more, but I'm not too concerned there. He's a reverse splits guy. He's a left-handed hitter, but they play him more against righties for the matchup, which makes no sense because he's always hit left-handed hitting better. I'm not telling you what to do, Brandon Hyde, but that's going to be the key to success right there. And then Ramon Laureano is the last guy. 100 percentile in arm strength, one of the best arms in baseball, but was once a Gold Glover, really good defender, kind of hitting the ball hard from the right side as a bench bat opportunity there. The rotation, this is where it gets a little shaky for the Orioles and why people aren't as high on them, because they traded for Corbin Burns and then they let him walk. And it was like, okay, how are you going to replace him? With 42-year-old Charlie Morton as your starter in the rotation. I mean, like, what are you doing? You have all of these young players. You have Henderson. You have Rutschman. You have Jackson Holliday coming up. Cowser, Westberg. All these guys we just mentioned about. You even got guys in the bullpen. Felix Bautista we'll talk about here in a minute. All these guys to build around, and you don't go sign a Fried. You don't go sign Corbin Burns back. None of that? You don't go trade for Garrett Crochet? Thanks for that. I appreciate it, but really? So your number one starter, Zach Eflin, who we mentioned a little bit ago from the Rays, nothing exciting about him. Career low in K rate, but doesn't walk anybody, so it's really just kind of what you're looking for from him is to get ground balls and to get deep into games with Eflin. And then after him, this is the exciting arm to really care about. Grayson Rodriguez got hurt last year. 3.86 ERA, 3.66 WHIP, 10 strikeout per 9. Unbelievable player. Top tier extension. His changeup had 8 run value. It's so nasty. So nasty. He narrowed it down to 4 pitches finally. Threw the curveball more. Scrapped the sweeper. Really don't know how to feel about that. His curveball kind of hung it. Maybe bring back that sweeper. Gets ahead early in counts last year. Created more whiff percentage. Arm slot dropped a little bit. Was super effective last year. Hopefully he stays healthy this entire year and I get to watch him pitch because he was the top prospect. He was top pitching prospect in baseball for so long. And now he's time to live up to the hype. Charlie Morton's here. You've seen Charlie Morton pitch forever. He's getting old. Not going to throw it too hard. Ground ball pitcher. Dean Kramer, the next guy, up after that, walks the world, left to be desired for, went away from the sinker, and it just got worse for him. And then the other signing they made, so I guess they made another signing for the offseason. Tomoyuki Sugano coming over from Japan, his first year in the United States. And you're like, oh, okay, they got a young Japanese pitcher. No, they didn't. 35 years old, Sugano is. But he's an amazing pitcher over in Japan in 156 innings, 156 innings, 167 ERA, a 945 whip. Strikeout, not going to do it much, but not even one walk per nine, a .9 walk per nine, 111 strikeouts, 15 wins. Great command. He's not going to blow you away with the fastball. His cutter generates a lot of soft contact, splits nasty. He loves to throw his slider against righties. These are all scouting reports that I read about him. I saw him start. He made an appearance against the Red Sox the other day. All of what I said is 100% true. Loves the soft contact. He's going to get it a lot. Excited to see how he translates to the MLB. Their bullpens just got guys. They've got a bunch of guys. Felix Bautista, we just talked about, coming back from surgery, missed all of last year, made his debut against the Red Sox actually the other day as well. High velo, splitter's so gross, top strikeout guy in the MLB when he comes back. This is the best closer in baseball, most likely, upon his arrival back to the big leagues. Andrew Kittredge came over this offseason from the Cardinals. Really had the best chase rate amongst all relievers in baseball last year at 39%. He should be a good setup option for this team. Then after him, Keegan Aiken, a left-handed reliever. Really excited about him. Had a 2.99 FIP last year. His ERA was 3.3. 0.94 whip for him. Generated a lot of swing and miss. Really excited. Sir Anthony Dominguez, they traded for from the Phillies last year. Wasn't really good. Not expected. They expected him to be the closer. Was not living up to what they expected to. They expected Yanier Cano to be awesome after his All-Star appearance, and just didn't look as great as he did. Gregory Soto on this team as well, left-handed flamethrower, doesn't know where it's going, but he's going to throw it hard. Ciano Perez, the complete opposite, just throws it to contact. And then Albert Suarez, who started a lot of games for them last year, threw 133 innings. He's going to be moved to the bullpen. Guys in the system to look for: Chase McDermott, a right-handed pitcher. He could find his way up there as early as now. Cade Povich, who had some experience in the MLB last year as a left-handed starter. He needs to probably go up there pretty soon. Other guys to look for: Kobe Mayo, another guy who had some MLB experience. They didn't like what they saw from him, so they sent him back down. He's the number 2 prospect. Other two guys that are lower in the system: Brandon Young and Cameron Weston, both right-handed pitchers, 19th and 17th prospects. They could be MLB ready as soon as the second half of this year. The Orioles, different from the first two teams we talked about, much better spot. However, it's a tough race at the top. I have them winning 86 games. You're going to see a weird correlation with all three of these teams, but I have them winning 86 games this year, and I'm excited to see for them to prove me wrong, because I really want them to be better and finish higher than this team right here, the New York Yankees, that I have coming in. And now obviously the Yankees coming off a World Series appearance, losing to the Dodgers in 5 games where they looked absolutely pathetic in all of those games except for the one where they just routed them. But that was when they had nobody left to throw for the Dodgers until Game 5. Their lineup, it got a little bit better, but I think it's a little overhyped. They're bringing up Jason Dominguez, who is the long-time hyped-up number 1 prospect in their organization. He just doesn't look good to what the hype has been around him. But the hype around Aaron Judge is real, and this is a top 3 baseball player. I will say it. As a Red Sox fan, I hate saying that I like Aaron Judge, but man, he is an awesome player. Last year, hit 58 home runs, a 115 OPS, 223 OPS plus, 123% better than any other player in baseball. The best OPS in baseball. Was an 11-win player. They're going to move him back to right field this year because they acquired Cody Bellinger from the Cubs to play center field. So maybe that helps Judge out. Bellinger hopefully getting a change of scenery here. and getting back to the ways that he saw in 2023 and then early on in his career. Jazz Chisholm is still here. They're going to move him back to second base, which in his career he's played third base, shortstop, center field, and second base, and he was the worst at second base. So good idea to move him to the position he sucked at the most. Anthony Volpe, not good hitting, very good defensive and player and runner. Austin Wells is at catcher. Came up last year, was hitting it pretty well for a while. Decent defender, 96th percentile framer, good blocker. They signed Paul Goldschmidt, who's regressing, getting older, but still hits it pretty hard, high exit velo, good veteran guy, and finally a consistent stay at first base for the team. And this is where it drops off even more. DJ LeMahieu is going to be your DH to start the year because Giancarlo Stanton is going to miss a lot of time to open the season with an injury. And then Oswaldo Cabrera is your third baseman. He's just a defensive guy, switch hitting player. Off the bench, Alex Jackson's your backup catcher. Good framer, quick bat, nothing more than that. Oswald Peraza, infielder, runs pretty well, has not lived up to the hype. He was a top 3 prospect. Trent Grisham came over, a part of the Michael King trade last year with Juan Soto. We don't need to talk about Juan Soto because it's a tough subject for Yankees fans. We'll talk about him in a second. Grisham's going to come out here, play some defense. Dom Smith, if you know, you know. Red Sox legend last year. He's the GOAT. I love Dom Smith. He's going to bring a lot of veteran presence, soft contact, good defense. Hate that he's on the Yankees because I love Dom Smith. This is where the biggest question for the Yankees is, because there's no question that Aaron Judge is going to hit, but will the rotation be what the rotation should be? They got Garrett Cole, frontline the rotation. Missed a lot of last year at the start with an elbow issue. His velo dropped a little bit, but ended up finishing strong. They went out and got Max Fried. This is what a team should do when you're right there and you know you can get over that hump with just one more thing. And they went out and did it. They paid the money. They got Max Fried. I love Max Fried. I hate he's on the Yankees. I hate that the Yankees keep getting players that I love. It's PTSD for me because my favorite player of all time is Johnny Damon. Don't ask why. It is. When I was a little kid, it was just the first names I was saying. I fell in love with him when he was a Red Sox. When he went to the Yankees, we moved to New York as a family, and they convinced me that's the reason why Johnny Damon went to the Yankees is because we moved to New York. So I hate that the Yankees keep getting all these players that I love. Max Fried, one of the best pitchers in baseball, and getting ground balls and generating soft contact. One of the best curveballs in baseball. So beautiful. Throws it like 72 compared to his 94 fastball. Then after that, Carlos Rodon had a good bounce back year after not good 2023. 195 strikeouts last year, was walking guys a little bit more, but hopefully for the Yankees' sake, he returns to the fashion that they thought they were going to sign him with when he was pitching for the White Sox at the end of his career and then eventually the Giants. And then the bottom 2 guys in the rotation, really not exciting to talk about because Luis Gil, who was the Rookie of the Year last year, has a lat strain. He won't be throwing for at least 6 weeks. Yikes. Clark Schmidt, not good. That's all I got. And then Marcus Stroman, not good as well. Drama coming into camp saying that he is not a reliever. He is only a starter, and he doesn't want to be here unless he's a starter. Well, guess what? He did some voodoo magic and got something to work so that he can be a starter. He's just not good anymore. Dropping velo, ground ball pitcher, but getting hit hard now. Not good for the Yankees. Bullpen, they went out and got Devin Williams. I will applaud him for that. Another guy I absolutely love. Really hate this. But he's one of the best relievers in baseball. Had a stress fracture in his back at the beginning of last year. Debuted in August last year. Was throwing more of the fastball. Ks were up. He decided to move off his changeup, which is his best pitch, to throw more fastballs, but maybe the Yankees will untap that. Luke Weaver revived his career last year, this time as a reliever. Through 84 innings, 2.89 ERA, was their number 1 guy to lean on in the postseason out of the pen. Also got guys like Ian Hamilton, not very good when it comes to keeping the guys off the bases. They traded for Fernando Cruz from the Cincinnati Reds. his ERA was 4.6, but his FIP was 3.2, and he threw 100, or he had 109 strikeouts. So they're really excited about him. Good splitter on him. Tim Hill, funky throwing left-handed guy, submarine lefty. He's not going to throw it hard. He's really just trying to get contact. Mark Leiter Jr., way too many pitches as a reliever. I think he throws like 6 or 7. Cut that down. That's the reason you're not effective anymore. And then Tyler Matzik, they signed from the Atlanta Braves, had an elbow inflammation post Tommy John, and he missed most of the year last year. Introduced a cutter. We'll see what comes from there. Guys to look out for in the system: Will Warren, a right-handed pitcher. He could be up there pretty soon. Clayton Beater might even contend for the opening day roster. Brock Selvage is a left-handed pitcher. He's a guy to look out for them. Spencer Jones is their new baby of the organization that they can hype up to be really good, but ends up hitting 220 in the minor leagues and tries to convince everybody he's amazing. And then Cam Schlittler, he had a fastball grade of like a 50. I just really liked his last name, so that's kind of why I picked him there. No, I'm kidding. He's a good fastball. He could contribute here probably maybe by the end of this year, depending on how it goes. The Yankees, they lost Juan Soto, and that's a massive, massive, massive loss. How do I think that they'll be? I think they're still a really good team. You have Max Fried, you have Garrett Cole. That should be enough to get you a lot of wins. Now, how long will Luis Gil be out? That is kind of what you're looking at on where your rotation is going to be, because if 6 weeks could turn into 12 weeks, and the 12 weeks could turn into 24 weeks. And now we're looking at a 3-month hiatus until Luis Gil becomes a starter in the rotation again, which means you got to get by with Schmidt or Stroman or calling up Beater or one of those guys we just mentioned. That's where it comes into question. Their bullpen should be okay. I have no problem, or they should have no problem in the bullpen. And then the lineup, it's LeMahieu isn't good anymore. Goldschmidt's been regressing, so maybe he can, find a new part of his career. Bellinger, he's so inconsistent, it's hard to tell. Dominguez is going to be your leadoff hitter. I don't know. Stanton's going to be out for a little while. You really need Giancarlo Stanton in this lineup to have that extra power guy behind Judge to balance it out a little bit more. I have the Yankees winning 88 games. It's not like they're going to completely fall off the face of the earth, but when you look at the team that I have finishing first, you look at them and you look at the check marks. Do they have a good lineup that's balanced with speed and athleticism and power? Check. Do you have a bench unit that can come in when injuries come in and take them over, and they can sub in a minor league system that can produce guys that'll be able to play the big league level? Check. You go to the rotation and you think about, well, sure, you got a couple of guys at the top, but your whole rotation as a whole looks solid. Check. Is the bullpen going to be good? Check. And that team's the Boston Red Sox, and maybe there's some bias that I'm saying this, but I think it's starting to realize after the signing of Alex Bregman, the Boston Red Sox could finish first in the American League East. And sure, again, that's biased. But it's not just me. There's a lot of people that are thinking that as well. Jarren Duran last year, MVP caliber season, was unbelievable. Probably my favorite player on the team at the current moment. Just how hard he plays the game on both sides of the ball. 10 outs above average. This is a guy that 2 years ago dropped a fly ball in Kansas City and started cussing at fans in the stands. This is a guy 2 years ago against the Toronto Blue Jays, gave up an inside the park home run and started walking to the baseball because he was so disappointed he didn't catch it and didn't do anything about it and was pouting the entire year. He has changed everything in his game, has become a role model for his teammates, has become a role model for the kids. Don't look up tennis racket and Jarren Duran. Please, God, don't. But he's become a role model for the kids. He played 160 games last year. The two are with the tennis racket incident with the fan. You probably already know the thing that went on there. But Duran, being the leadoff hitter of this team is going to be unbelievable. And then backed by Rafael Devers, who had a nagging shoulder injury the entire year. I went to the game in Colorado, and I thought his season was over with how much pain he was in with that shoulder. He played the next day. But that's just what Rafi does. He doesn't like sitting because of injuries. Rafi is going to play baseball if he can play baseball. Now, the whole drama of him and Alex Bregman, who's going to be playing third base, who's not, is there going to be a DH situation? I think we're going to settle it down a little bit here. Rafi gets to start the year at third base. Bregman's going to start the year at second, and everything will be resolved eventually. Bregman will slide over to third. Rafi will move to DH once the roster kind of plays itself out. But getting Bregman is unbelievable. 26 homers last year, 6 outs above average, was so good. So good. And everything that you want in a veteran player, leadership, willingness to help, motivation to win, relationship with manager and teammates. That's what he does. That's what Alex Bregman brings to this team. It is everything we've wanted from a veteran player coming in, and Alex Bregman's going to do so. Not only does bringing Alex Bregman in show that we are willing to win, but the idea of paying the money that we did for Alex Bregman shows us as Red Sox fans and shows the whole league that, hey, the Red Sox are serious about winning again. We're ready to go. And following those three, Tristan Casas has a lot of rumors around him and a lot of controversy around him. He's an interesting guy, to say the least, but I love what Casas does. I think he's posed for a bounce-back year this year, quite frankly. And he was dealing with injuries last year. I think he was forcing a little bit when he came back. But even in 243 plate appearances, 32 RBIs, 13 home runs. All I can ask for with him. 120 OPS plus. The next big question mark is Trevor Story. Will Trevor Story be healthy? That has been the question for the past 3 years for the Boston Red Sox. He has been dealing with injuries. He has been swinging it really well in spring training. He swung it well when he came back last year at the end of the season. He's always going to be an amazing defensive third baseman. He's been a great veteran leader. The pieces are starting to fall in place for the Red Sox. If Trevor Story has an amazing year, this flips everything that the Red Sox are wanting for. Because then guys, Masataka Yoshida, who's going to be a DH after him, he falls into place. He's a big-time hitter with contact. He gets on base. He doesn't strike out. He takes walks. And then it allows for guys like Connor Wong, who's going to be our catcher for this year, and Ceddanne Rafaela, who's poised for a really, really awesome year. And then the guy that everybody wants to talk about and everybody wants to watch, and that's the number one prospect in all of baseball, Roman Anthony. Now, Willie Abreu should be the starting right fielder of this team. He got severely ill, will not be ready probably for opening day, I assume. Hasn't even started baseball activities, really, since getting sick. So it's all signs pointed towards Roman Anthony being called up. This kid is 20 years old. In the minor leagues, 291 batting average, 396 on base, 894 OPS, 18 homers, 65 RBIs. Just mashes the ball. And he's really decent out there in the outfield. He'll probably play left or right. He's not going to play center just yet. Rafaela's got that on lock to win the Gold Glove out there. I am so excited for this team. And then off the bench, David Hamilton, good speed lefty bat option. He started out at shortstop last year. Get him away from that. Never let him play shortstop in a Major League Baseball game again. Spring training, don't care. When it comes to regular season, postseason, don't let him go to shortstop. He is extremely fast, really solid defensively at second, made hard contact last year, was putting the ball in play. All you need to do with guys like Duran and Hamilton and even Rafaela, just put the ball in play and you might just get down the line. And after him, Carlos Narvaez traded forward with the Yankees. 192 pop time, good receiver. He might take over at catching if Wong's defense doesn't improve at all, because Wong, -12 blocking, -7 framing defensively for Wong. It's just all about if Narvaez can hit. And then the other guys, Rob Refsnyder, is a career 300 hitter against left-handed pitching in his career. He's a great utility guy, veteran presence. Everybody loves him. Roman Gonzalez, a utility guy, right-handed hitter, hits lefties really, really well. Another guy that just everyone loves in the clubhouse. The pieces, as you can tell, I've not been this excited. If you know me personally, I've not been this excited talking about the Red Sox since 2021. And I have the biggest smile on my face talking about this all because we also went out and traded for Garrett Crochet, one of the best pitchers in baseball last year. I'll put a hand up. Hand up. This is on me, and maybe this is just me being a Florida fan and hating Tennessee and not loving anything that comes out of the University of Tennessee. But Garrett Crochet last year, when changed from a reliever to a starter and became the opening day starter, I said, this is the dumbest decision you could ever make. I think it's still on record somewhere, too. And then halfway through the season, he started pitching really well. And I'm like, well, it's one season, be a little fluky. And then he got better and better. And I'm like, wait a minute. I kind of want this guy on my baseball team now. Last year, 146 innings pitched. Kind of was limited towards the end of the year because the White Sox stink. 3.58 ERA. Don't worry about that because his FIP was 2.69. His WHIP was 1.07. 209 strikeouts. Had a 13 K per nine. 13. Cutter and sinker was added. His sinker is so nasty now. He's thrown it in spring training. I mean, a lefty sinker. There's no words to describe how excited I am for Garrett Crochet. And there's also no words to describe how excited I was about Tanner Houck's year last year as well. Career high in innings, finally full-time starter, 178 innings. Career low in ERA. Wasn't walking anybody. Threw a complete game last year. Ground ball pitcher. Unbelievable year from Tanner Houck. He converted his slider to a sweeper. 8-run value on that sweeper. It's so gross. Just watch it. Sinker is awesome. Cutter was less. Splitter, obviously, is this pitch to put away on. And then after him, Walker Buehler, Reclamation Project. Not good last year. Coming off Tommy John. Took a little bit more time. Had a hip issue last year as well. But when you look at the regular season stats from Walker Buehler, and then you look up Walker Buehler start against the Mets in the NLCS. Walker Buehler start against the Yankees in the World Series. Walker Buehler records the final 3 outs of the World Series. That is the player you're getting for the Boston Red Sox. And his first spring training start, 95. Movement. Gross. Unbelievable get from the front office to get Walker Buehler in here. Brian Bayo. Unfortunately, it's looking like he might miss opening day with his shoulder soreness. He hasn't started throwing yet, really. But Bayo is a guy that's going to get generate a lot of contact, whether it's hard or soft. He's not going to have the stuff to punch out guys like everybody else. Although last year he was punching out more guys than ever before, career high in strikeouts at 153. Started to bring back the fastball towards the end of the year. They eliminated it completely, and his sinker just got hit way too much. So they needed that fastball to level it out and make it a lot easier for him. And then the other guy in this rotation, Lucas Giolito, had internal brace surgery. Not Tommy John. It's the less severe surgery option amongst those. He'll make a spring training debut probably next week, if I have to guess, based on what he was talking about the other day. Workhorse, really going to post for you. Going to go as deep as he can. Gets a lot of fly balls. His velo was up in spring training last year. It will be interesting to see how he goes. The other guy in this rotation that was awesome last year was Cutter Crawford. He has a knee issue. He's going to miss time to start the season, but he was going to get demoted to the bullpen anyways. So really excited about this rotation, hoping that everything kind of falls into place for this team. Then the bullpen. You got names on names on names on names. I've got Liam Hendriks, who is coming off Tommy John, is really, really, really charismatic. Obviously, everybody knows his story with the cancer and overcoming that and coming back and pitching in the same year as being diagnosed with it. Really worried about what his velo could be. In the spring, it's kind of been down, but he's been working on some things, kind of just getting back. But he's most likely going to be your closer. If it's not him, it's Aroldis Chapman. Tell me if you haven't heard that name either. This guy just throws bullets. Now, does he know where it's going? No. However, he throws bullets. Justin Slayton was awesome. Was the best reliever in the bullpen last year for this team. 293 ERA, 101 WHIP, 261 FIP. Absolute dog. Missed a lot of barrels, 45% chase rate. Differentiates the fastball and the sweeper. It's so beautiful to watch him pitch. Garrett Whitlock is finally going back into the bullpen. Was in the rotation for the past couple of years. Got hurt every single time he tried to start. 2021 came over from the Yankees as a Rule 5 pick and was our best reliever the entire stretch run there. Excited to see what he does. Brandon Bernardino's a lefty option in the pen. He's kind of regressing a little bit. Luis Guerrero, I'm super excited for. I think Luis Guerrero has the chance to become the closer in the next few years for the Red Sox. In 10 innings pitched last year when he got called up, 0 earned runs. We talked about him on the last podcast. I'm really pumped for him. You've got enough info on him. Justin Wilson is a veteran reliever. Not really too exciting to talk about and to look for, but he's there. And then Adam Ottavino is a non-roster invite to spring training. I think he might make the roster because he was a part of the team in 21. Good veteran presence. Has a good relationship with guys like Whitlock and Houken. Was instrumental in their careers as well. But still has some funky delivery and throws it some nasty stuff. So I think he will end up being on the team. Looking at the other guys to talk about the names and notes. We talked about Roman Anthony. There's the big three. Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, who's now the new number 1 prospect in the Red Sox organization, and Marcelo Meyer, who's the number 3 right now. Those guys are going to be the cornerstones of your franchise. Campbell had a chance to still has a chance to make the opening day roster coming out of camp. Not looking as good. He hasn't been swinging it well, but Campbell has a chance to do so. Meyer is probably opening day next year would be his start time. Then the other guys, Hunter Dobbins, who really showed a lot of promise last year at AAA Worcester, showed some signs in spring training. He has a chance to maybe come up next year as well. Quinn Priester, acquired last year from the Pirates, was a former first-round pick, top prospect. He graduated from his ranking system. He has a chance to be the 5th starter to fill in if Brian Bayo is not ready to go opening day. Him or Richard Fitz could be the 2 guys. And then the last guy I'm really excited about, David Sandlin, a right-handed pitcher, 9th ranked in the system, was just a throw-in a trade and throws absolute BBs. I'm really excited for the Red Sox this year. I have them winning 89 games. Is it biased? 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. But I do not care. I am really excited to watch the Red Sox. The AL East is always going to be competitive, whether it's the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Orioles, or the years of the Blue Jays and the Rays were really exciting to watch. The AL East is always competitive. So my final rankings, the Red Sox will finish in first, the Yankees, the Orioles, the Blue Jays, and then the Rays. That's a lot of information. I'm going to be better for next time on trying to cut down on the bad teams. Luckily, we're doing the AL Central next week, so we can talk about the White Sox for 2 minutes and then move on because there's not much to talk about with them. But the AL Central will be on Monday, and then next Friday we might do the NL Central. So stay tuned. Keep in touch with all of those different things. Follow me on all my socials at The Punch Out Pod. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'll start posting on TikTok more, interact there. The link tree is always in my descriptions of all my social medias if you want to get to my Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all those types of things. We got the video on Spotify now. I found out how to do that. Really excited about that. So yeah, watch it on Spotify, watch it on YouTube. Tell a friend if they love baseball and they want to know about all this stuff and they want to learn. Please spread the word. I appreciate you guys for listening who do. I know this is a long one. We're going to try to keep them shorter when the season actually starts, but these previews are going to be a little longer. There will be timestamps. I will work it out to do some timestamps on all of these and cut it down to where you guys can follow along and go and look for certain teams if you want to. But I appreciate you if you've listened through the entire way. Hopefully this helps you on your long drive or during your workouts or during work. I hope this got you through a little bit more and you learned a little bit of something about baseball today and are excited about the AL East this season. Monday, we'll be doing the AL Central. I appreciate you all for listening, and I'll see you all then.